Hey guys, so for this video I wanted to finally do my favorite, my art book collection, because I do like to collect art books, but I was waiting for two books to come in the mail in particular, and they're finally here, so now I can finally show them off. This is the one that was the straggler that took a minute to get here, but the art style of Lois. And who doesn't know who Lois is? I think everybody does, but I never owned any of her art books before. Not that I didn't want to, I just haven't had the chance to obtain them. So this one I believe is the brand new one. Came with like a little mini art print there, and it came with, I think, her signature. I think she signed that. If I could, I would like to have some more of her books. This is an artist that I think most of us grew up with, and I remember her from way back in the days where at the time she was a super impressive artist back then too, but if you go back and look, yeah, she was a beginner artist just like the rest of us, and I remember her from those days. So I'm happy to support somebody where I'm like, I've been watching your art evolve for like the past 20 years, and I can't believe that I'm old enough to be able to say that. But I am happy that I finally have an art book of hers, even though technically that's not quite my art style, but it's just a recognizable figure I'm happy to support. And that's a lot what I like to collect. I like supporting other artists via their art books. I would much rather, oh gosh, please don't. I'll have to put this back together later because I'm afraid that I'm going to destroy it. Anyways, like I was saying, I like to support artists via their art books more than anything else. I just like having the physical thing in my hand. I like to look or flip through them. I like them to be coffee table books. So that's just how I prefer to collect artist stuff. But this was the other one that I had gotten in the mail. I showed this off on Twitter a few days ago, but this is the Artists of the Americas, brought to you by Pixiv. And I saw the artist Victoria Ying had posted it on her TikTok account. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known that it had existed. But usually when I think Pixiv, I think anime art, which I have nothing against it. It's just not my thing. I don't go for anime. But because she had posted it, and I'm like, I know you, I want to support you, know, in quotes, familiar with, that I just went ahead and I purchased the book. And there's actually quite a few artists in here that are from my side of the internet. There's quite a few animal artists that I recognize in here. So I was kind of happy with this purchase. It's very colorful, very beautiful, will look really nice on the shelf. So high five to them. I was trying to see if I could find, here we go. So here's another one, somebody I recognize. So I recognize them from the internet. I follow them. So just, again, happy to support people. So those are the two most recent books that I got. But in the spirit of recent things, I did want to pull out a classic. The Lackadaisy, like their official premiere film thing. Very impressive, all hand done by strangers on the internet. They just uploaded their own YouTube video. Made my husband watch it, and he was pretty impressed with it, although I had to explain to him exactly what Lackadaisy was. But this is their art book that my brother had gifted to me years and years and years ago. So just fabulous artist, fabulous authors, and I thought I would this is volume 1. I don't know how many volumes they're up to anymore, but this has been on my shelf for a while. Much deserved space, and congrats on y'all's finished project. And these two books these are my prized treasures. I'm not convinced that my mother bought these. I think she might have stolen them, but I've had these since I was tiny girl, and they have been just a staple of my shelf ever since then. They're very well loved. You can see that they're kind of destroyed here, but this one's the art of animal drawing, and then this one is just drawing animals. So this book is beautiful. I always recommend it. And I was so sad, so I was trying to dig these out, and it turns out that I'm missing a book that should go with these. It's not nearly as old, but one of my favorite artists when I was younger, her name is J.C. Amberlin. I have a book of hers, and I don't know where it is. And now I'm absolutely devastated. I have no idea where it went. I do still love JC Amberlin's style. I love her characters. I love her caricatures. I love her ability to draw animals. Sad that I have no idea where that book went. I've just moved so many times. I don't know if it's in storage or what. But anyways, back to these. I've had these since I was a little girl. This book in particular really inspired me to get good, essentially. He uses lines and shapes, and when I was little, it absolutely blew my mind. Even on like the cartoony stuff, he shows you like the line of action. Like there's like little snippets of like animation in here, but just his ability to put weight onto a creature and his ability to, you know, put motion into a figure really inspired little girl me. And I really wanted to be like him. One of the other things that inspired me to be an animal artist when I was a really little girl was that movie Homeward Bound. And there was a scene at the end where Peter was really sad about Shadow, and you could see him in his class and he was sketching Shadow on his notebooks. I really wanted to be like Peter really badly and have really nicely drawn like sketches of my dog in my notebooks at school. And this is kind of what that page reminds me of. I was like, oh, I want to draw like that too, just little sketchy things. So absolutely fabulous book. However, he draws just totally like clicked in my brain, and this is responsible for a lot of who I am today. This book, not as much of a favorite as the other book was. It's just, again, I've had it since I was really young, and there was one particular drawing in here. Before essentially the internet and social media existed, I used to just draw like pencil sketches on paper as realistically as I possibly could, and often my childhood dog was, you know, my subject. I drew her all the time, and I always thought that this portrait down here, this is done in pencil, I always thought that that portrait kind of looks like her. It was the closest dog in this book that looked like her, and I used to try and draw this over and over and over again. And it, again, just kind of helped teach me how to draw dogs. So this book, again, not quite as impressive as the other book. It does go into shapes a little bit, but it was more about just everything was drawn in pencil and the realism of it. And just looking back at this kind of brings back memories. But it doesn't quite teach you like the line of action and weight of creatures like the other books did. But I've held on to it all this time. Just holds a special place in my heart. Next couple of books are more of your professional style art books. Just kind of, again, inspired me. And so this one's Painting Animals by Leslie Harrison. And I don't remember if I got this for Christmas one year or if I bought this myself. This book, I didn't necessarily use it for tutorial purposes, but rather it reminded me a lot of how I preferred to paint when I did digital painting. So again, before I did traditional art now, I've only been doing watercolors and gouache for the past couple of years. But before then, I was always a digital artist. Almost like 99% of everything that I did was digital art. And the way that I preferred to do my digital art was very similar to how this lady does her pastel art. And I thought at the time, maybe one day I would get into doing pastels. Since it was similar to how I already drew, I thought pastels maybe would be a branch or step to get into traditional art. I was afraid to do traditional art a lot when I was younger because, one, traditional art is very expensive. And then also there's a learning curve and you take a step back. And my viewers at the time were only used to me drawing digital, and I was afraid, you know, if my quality suffered, I would lose, I guess, fans. The internet was different back then. I was different back then. So I thought that this would be like a nice, like, logical step to branch into. Turns out I have tried pastels. I did try pastels. I have tried them. And it turns out they're not really my favorite thing. I don't like the noise that they make when they scrape across the paper. It's like nails on a chalkboard. And it's not as quite as easy as she makes it seem. But she's got some nice looking fur tutorials. And I still think that this would translate over well to digital. So just another beautiful, more professional, artsy book. So if you're interested in that, it's by Leslie Harrison. I also have some professional books by like Aaron Blaise. you know, I think a staple a little bit in the artist sphere. So I had to get a book by him. I think I have 2 books by him. And then David Coleman. So this is a fabulous art book as well. David Coleman, I think, is kind of similar to Ken Holtgren in that he just kind of shows his line of action, and he just adds, I don't know, some sort of like a caricature, characters to his lines and to his work. So I just kind of like to collect things. The next one, this is just kind of like a token Mitchin. So this kind of not a big deal, but you've probably seen this book everywhere. But The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, I think are they making a movie? Is there a movie? There might already be a movie based on this. But I picked this up. It's very simple book. What I like about it so much is that it's so sketchy. And again, it just kind of it shows the motion of like the animals in such simple lines. It literally only takes him a line and like you understand what's going on. Like how much more simple for a horse can you get with these and these? And I just kind of wish that I could take a step back and do something as simple as this, because I feel like I kind of get into this rut where I need to finish everything. It needs to be completed. It needs to be well-rounded. And this just kind of shows that you can do art and just be very simple. I'm so jealous. How do you get to be a couple of lines and it looks like a perfectly logical illustration? I don't get it, but I'm so jealous of it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like Winnie the Pooh or something, but just shows beauty and simplicity. And I wish I could take a step back and do that and have it look like it's purposefully supposed to look that way and it's not incomplete. The next couple of books, we're gonna just like, I guess, stick with the professional sphere. If you want to start collecting art books, you can never go wrong with Art of series. So I've got like the Art of Kung Fu Panda and the Art of Tangled. I would love to collect more of these. I have a few more in my back room. I just didn't pull them all out. But one day I'd like to get like the Art of Zootopia. And believe it or not, I don't actually own any Art of the Lion Kings. I don't own any Lion King art books. Not sure how that happened. But these 2 are my favorite of the Art ofs. Again, just beautiful drawings. Very inspirational. I love these. In the same realm, they also make Art of video game books. So this one is upside down. This is the Art of Okami, and this one actually opens just like a Japanese book would. So opposite from what we do here in America. But this is the Okami art book, and I don't know if you younger viewers know how much of a hold this game had on us. It's like the animal version of Zelda. Just a beautiful game, beautiful art book. Video games make beautiful art books as well. I have quite a few like Assassin's Creed and some other stuff too. But art books, of your favorite film, your favorite video games, very inspirational. And then speaking of things that had holds on us way back in the day, the Katurran Odyssey. This book was so popular back in the day. If you've never, I've got the cover on upside down as well, I think. My bad. This one's, okay. I just put the desk cover on backwards, apparently the last time I got into this. But this book, oh my gosh. If you need to collect anything, if you have a desire to draw animals, to draw horses, this book is just absolutely stunning. And also the thing that kind of makes me mad is, again, I used to be a digital artist, and if I even dared to do like a pencil sketch, even like today, I feel like if I try to do a pencil sketch, and these look like they were done with pencil or maybe an ink pen, but if I attempted this and then took it into Photoshop and tried to color it, Lord knows it wouldn't come out that pretty. It would look like garbage. And somehow they managed to take little just sketchy sketches and then color them in what I'm assuming is Photoshop, and they make it look so pretty. I don't think I've ever actually read the story, but just the illustrations alone, oh, it's so beautiful. This is already, man, like I want to go back and draw more horses, everything about this book. Guys, go back. We need to make this a thing. This book is deserving of all of its praise. This is the most beautiful thing to ever exist. All right, and then now I think we'll just kind of go back into the artists of the internet, stuff that I've collected from artists that I've found on the internet that's, you know, just little small mention of me. I've shown these before. These two books are very special to me because lo and behold, I'm in them. That is like the number one thing that I'll hold on to for the rest of my life. See, look, there I am. That's my illustration right there. See, used to be a digital artist. So I will probably never reach this level of success ever again. And I'm very thankful to have been invited or to have even been thought of. I don't even think you can really find these books anymore. But just never in my life did I think that I would ever get invited to any sort of a project. And this was so long ago now. There I am. Just fun to see where we started from, because there's some other artists in here too where you're like, oh yeah, I remember you existing. Where did you go? You know? So The Art of Ivana. This is a newer book. Again, it came with like an art print. This artist, she probably don't remember me, lowly me, but she was a huge deal in our fandom when we were all young teenagers. So when I started in the Lion King fandom back in the early 2000s, she was a prominent figure. So I'm glad to see that she's still doing art these days. And I'm glad to see that she got an art book of her own and I can have it on my shelf and say, I started off in the same fandom as this girl, the Lion King Fan Art Archive. Yep. Maybe she didn't want me to say that, but she did because I remember her. This one was another one. The Ladies of Animation. It's just amazing sometimes. Again, I've been on the internet since essentially the year 2000. It's been over 20 years since I've been on the internet. And a lot of these ladies started out on the internet as nobodies, again, when we were just tweens and teenagers. And here they are in an art book brought to you by John Lasseter himself. And I don't know, people's successes just impress me. And it's just so cool to see that people grew up to do something cool with themselves. This one as well. When I had first started doing my traditional art journey right before the pandemic hit, I had discovered Iraville, or they were kind of like promoted to me because I was already started to do watercolors. And the moment you put watercolors into the search tab, the moment the internet algorithm starts throwing things at you. So I really have an appreciation for this person's art styles. I don't know them, I only knew of them. And I just have an appreciation for their ability to do landscapes and buildings. Because Lord knows I don't have any sort of aspirations at all to do any of those things. I hate doing landscapes. I hate doing backgrounds. So it was just kind of cool to see another artist's thought process, and it's just a beautiful book. This person, again, I had just started doing my traditional art journey and the algorithm brought me to this person. I don't think I realized I had so many things that were signed by people. But this person really, again, beautiful stuff. I'm not a human artist. Clowns kind of freak me out, but it's just their use of watercolors and colored pencils. It's one of those things where if I tried to mesh some of these colors together, like if I tried that, it would just turn into a muddy, ugly brown mess. But somehow they're able to take these, like what I would consider icky colors, these gold, brown, icky green colors, and create a beautiful illustration with them. And I just find that super inspirational. Again, totally not my color palette at all. But just the fact that they can keep it from looking grungy, super impressive to me. And so, very beautiful book. This one came beautifully packaged too. It had like the sparkles and the sprinkles all in it. Kind of sparkly there. Last couple things that I wanted to show off, or just some more stuff I purchased from artists because I wanted to support them. So this is just a simple little bitty book. Draw all the animals. She sent me some stickers. This is Belle and Pixel, and she's a you know, modern times artist. She's currently on the internet. This book is not that old, but again, I just appreciate how she can do simple little bitty lines and just create a full figure out of them. When I was a little girl, I would have loved this book. I would have probably found the shapes and the lines super, super helpful. So I enjoy having that in my collection. Another more modern-y artist is Panda. And then I have their book as well. They're a current notable artist on the internet. So again, I just like seeing somebody else's thought process, and I enjoy supporting others. So she made a beautiful art book. What I really appreciate about their art is just their ability to do clump fur, because I like to do that too when I draw my animals, particularly digitally. When I was a digital artist, my favorite part was just making fur clumps. So the fact that they make fur clumps too, that speaks to me. I see where you're coming from. I appreciate that effort. I appreciate all that you do. So again, and then they sent me a little handwritten note and some stickers and stuff. Very nice. Last couple things are oldies. These are oldies from like blast from the past. If you were in our artist scope in like the, I don't know, early 2000s or maybe early 2010s, maybe. I still have this. They probably don't want me to have this, but if you guys remember Binsey Baby is what she was known on the Lion King side of things, but she really quickly branched out. But her and her brother at the time, bless, I can't pronounce her last name, Emmy Cicerega, y'all remember them? They did like the Harry Potter pals. This was one of her like first attempts at making a book, and I feel like I can feel what she's thinking. Like when she made this, like I think she was super excited just to have a book made, and that's exactly why I got it. 2008, you guys. Look how cute. It's just somebody's origin story, and I haven't seen them on the internet in years and years and years and years. But I felt like her trajectory just in her success was skyrocketing so fast at the time, and now I don't know what she does for a living, but I have lots of fan art by her. She was very active in our communities, and we used to draw each other fan art like back and forth, and I still have like all of it. She was hilarious. She was just a great person. I think she might be embarrassed to know that I still have this, because some of the pictures are kind of actually like pixelated, which is kind of like a baby artist mistake. It's so cute. If I were to try and do an art book, I too would make like pixelated mistakes, because you just don't know when you're a baby artist how things are going to go. But I absolutely love it. I just like having this, being able to brag about it. Like, look at what I still have, Emmy. I think that's so fun. Ursula Vernon. Bless. Everybody, I think, remembers Ursula back in the days. Again, I don't know her personally, but she was just everywhere. She was on DeviantArt. And then the thing that I mainly took away from her was just her use of Painter, Corel Painter. You know, back in the early 2000s, it was either you used like Photoshop or you used Painter. And this was long before free programs existed like the GIMP, or, you know, nowadays we all use Procreate. But at the time, like if you were a professional artist, you showed your professionalism by your ability to use Painter. And that's what she did a lot of her sketches and her artworks in. And I would try and use Painter and I just could not get it. It was just too much. I didn't enjoy it. But she was just hilarious at the time. She is, of course, responsible for that LOL what pair meme that goes around. But now she's like this notable author, and she has several books that have made their way through BookTube. Well, very popular author, rather. She goes under a different name these days. But I have one of her first books, and I am, again, proud to be able to brag about this. Just funny. The last thing, this is not a book. Just something that I want to brag about. So this was a project, the notable animal/furry artists at the time, and like again the early 2000s, they all bunched together and they created a card deck, and each artist was like assigned a card, and then they had to create illustrations for, you know, that number and the whatever you call it. So that's like 7 of hearts. So again, just kind of a blast from the past. These artists were all very popular in the genre at the time. There's Ursula Vernon right there. Just looking back at these, I'm like, you were one of my favorite artists. I think, I don't know about all of them, but some of them are definitely still active on the internet to this day. So I was super excited to get my hands on these as a little girl. I think I got this from Christmas, maybe. My parents had to buy it for me because I didn't have any money of my own at the time. But I've held on to it all these years. And they've aged really well, you guys. Everything on here looks beautiful. Just beautiful. Glad to say that I was around during that time and that I could get my hands on that. But yeah, those are some of the artist things that I have in my collection. But that's it for right now. Again, if you have questions, concerns, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Until next time.